Yes, monkey. That button right over there. It's always been that button. Ah. Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here. Unky Joe's Playhouse. Serious Unky Joe for a serious 2026. Oh, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Good morning. Thanks for joining me. Glad to see everybody here. Let's get the party started, shall we? So we always talk about the weather at Unky Joe's Playhouse because I know y'all are just give me a 5x5 down in the chat thingy. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Let me find my monitor setup here. Yes, left monitor with the camera, please, and transition. Very good. I'm my own studio technician today. So it's 69 beautiful degrees outside. And as you can see, we're going to have yet another beautiful week. It was 80 degrees yesterday. I was on the 8th floor of a high rise in San Antonio with no air conditioning on. It was very warm, and I was there until 4 o'clock. So it got very warm. If you know anything about Texas and the heat, and that was in January. And Christmas it was 80 degrees. It was so anybody who says living in the South doesn't have it made is just dead wrong. My sister's freezing to death up in Nebraska. Hi, sis. Enjoy that cold weather. And occasionally she'll leave the refrigerator door open, and some of that cold weather will sneak down here to Texas. But I always call her and let her know we're not happy when that happens. So there's our weather. I hope yours is better than that. We got the worst parts of winter yet to come, January, February, and sometimes March. But February is traditionally a pretty sketchy month for folks in South Texas. We never know what kind of weather we're going to get. I know this, though. My mouse button is not working. I am going to get rid of this mouse. It just has not been a good experience. I mean, I like the way my hand feels on it. It's one of those stand-up mice. But over time, the sensitivity has gotten bad. The buttons have stopped responding. I thought I didn't have it charged, but anyway, it seems everything's breaking on me today. That's the other thing that seems to be going on. How's your day going? All right, well, go out to the chat and say hello. So Nerd on Elm Street, William Wilkinson, Grish is here, James Scouten. Good to see everybody here. And we'll move on with the next stuff I got to move on with. Speaking of things breaking, my Dell server today, which I was going to use in part of my live stream, just decided it doesn't want to boot. So depending on how the rest of the live stream goes, we may try to troubleshoot that right here live on the air. That'd make a good video. The pool, there is absolutely nothing to report on the pool. The pool has gone night-night. There is, however, stuff to report on the solar. So let's switch over to that. You'll see what it is I'm talking about. So if you look in the column that is solar, and keep in mind it's only 10 o'clock and it's in January, so not the most productive month for solar. And you can see we're getting 1,300 kilowatts from two different systems. So my 24-volt system that powers the rack and what, my production area here is getting about 700 watts of solar. And my 48-volt critical load, which is the rest of the house, is sucking in about 616 watts. Now, these things don't update quite as often as I like them, so if I just click on it, that'll give us an up-to-date reading. And what I am finding now is by about 11 o'clock, I'm making about 1,200 kilowatts, 1,200 watts on this thing, on the 24-volt. And you can see it's keeping my batteries. I keep them at about 80% state of charge, just in case the power were to go out for a prolonged period of time. I want to have a little reserve capacity in addition to about the 30 minutes worth of backup power I get from the UPS on the rack. So again, this stuff powers my rack and my production area that you see here. And I've got plugs in there so I can, switch the various plugs around between if I wanted to, I could plug the rack into the 48-volt system, either the Victron or the or the what is the EG4 system, just by going and switching a plug, and it works for me. The 48 volt system, you can see where we have double DC power on here. We have the solar panels that are directly connected to the Victron system via the 450-100 charge controller. And then we have DC power, which is coming in from this EG4 system. So it's pulling in about 1,000 watts right now. And it produces pretty well. They both do. At peak, I'm getting about 4,000 watts coming in from my solar panels. So I still need more panels. I've got them. They're right here. Hang on. They're right here behind me, that stack of 5 panels. And you think with all this beautiful weather, I would have gotten out there and set them up, but that's not the case because I've had other priorities. So, and do you like my hat? I got that for Christmas. I'm special. So anyway, it's powering things, and I can't tell you how much money that is saving us on electrical by powering the rack with solar, because that's a, you consider, with not including air conditioning and heating, you figure my house only pulls, let me go here and look over time. Oh, for goodness sakes. Boom. All right, so my house pulls about let's see. Well, on that day it was 11,500. That was a colder day. I was using electric heat. Probably 13 kilowatt hours, 14 kilowatt hours. You can always tell. I wish they would put the temperature in here. That would be helpful. But normally I'm not pulling that many kilowatt hours when it's a warmer day. But anyway, I digress, or sometimes I am. But this is only things plugged into the critical loads panel. So my consumption is not really that high compared to, let's go look at the 24 volt system, which my consumption, you can see on my worst day on the house system, it was 15 kilowatts. But over here, I'm pulling a consistent 22 kilowatt hours per day. And that's just to run the rack and my production stuff you see here on my desk. So the house really doesn't, the demands on the house are not really that great, other than heating and air conditioning, which is handled by this behemoth, the EG4. So this is where I need to make sure I'm spending money on panels and putting the panels to good use. The thing that gets me, though, is I just really wish I had gotten another 48 volt inverter for this system, because yeah, I could be twice as efficient as I am now. It just bothers me to no end. But that's what. There's my solar, and it's working well. It is definitely paying for itself. It's paying to power this home office, and that was what the whole idea was for, was to get my feet wet, not without plugging myself into a socket, mind you, but to get my feet wet in solar. Probably not a good analogy, huh? Feet wet in electricity, yeah, not a good analogy. But anyway, that's what it is, and that's the kind of performance I get from my system. It's not cheap. It's not for the faint of heart. There's tons of copper wiring. You need to know electrical. You need to know how electricity works. You need to be safe. Think ahead. All the things I'm not. You need to be in order to do solar safely. So do what I do, but do it with do it with a little trepidation, as they say. All right. So what's next? So Australia is trying to talk about some news, and then we'll move on to, I'll fill in how my week went, and then we'll move on to the problem at hand, which is my Dell 730 server, of course. So evidently in Australia, in the land down under, they're trying to pass a law to prevent kids 16 and younger from accessing social media sites. Now, as a freedom-loving American, I initially heard that and had a knee-jerk or reaction. No, no, we can't do that. Okay. And then I got to thinking, well, we restrict youngsters from doing stuff that's harmful to them all the time. And I got to tell you, I've never seen any good. Well, I can't say that. I've never seen any good come out of kids being on social media. Some adults can't handle social media. They get butthurt and upset, and people are cruel, you know. It's kind of a good lesson for kids when you think about it, to learn how cruel the world can be. But I'm starting to warm up to the idea of banning kids off of the internet, off of social media. Now, Joe, they'll just find yeah, they probably will, right? But at least it supports the majority of parents who don't want their kids on this. The parents can just point to the law and go, hey, it's a law, you know. You can't drink either. So, I mean, I know the kids are still going to do what they're going to do, right? It's like trying to pass a law saying you can't have sex until you're 18, which you can't consent to sex when you're underage. So there is that law, but they're going to do it anyway. But it is going to keep the majority of people off of, I mean, social media sites serve no purpose for kids other than to kind of attract them to a service to where they can be predated upon. Does that make sense? Roblox, prime example. They're taking out, what, a $5 billion hit or something like that, $5 million hit for not banning kids or not banning predators, some shit like that. Go look it up. The people that do the Roblox thing, it's like they almost want the kids on there so they can have adults predate on them, be predatory, you know? So I'm starting to warm to this idea, and I've asked a couple of people I know, you know, some friends, and I asked my spouse, and they're like, yeah, of course they should ban kids from social media. It's a great idea. So that's just my anecdotal evidence, right? My little ball that I live in, my little bubble. So I'm not opposed to it anymore. For that initial moment I was. The other thing I see a lot of young parents doing now is not getting their kids a cell phone until the 8th grade. And I frankly would make them wait till the 9th grade and they had a job and could pay for it by themselves. But I don't see any need for kids to have cell phones either. Or get them a flip phone, something they can talk and text with and without internet, because it's that internet tether that gets these kids into trouble. So if you have a phone that only mom and dad can track you with and text you and phone you, you're going to see kids in life going from this to this and then to this. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I mean, it's kind of sad and tragic, and I see a lot of people, my generation, not my generation, but younger than my generation, just like 10 years, 15 years. That's all they do. They wake up in the morning, they put it in front of their face. That can't be healthy. I remember when I was a youngster, the thought of having a personal computer in my hand that I could take with me anywhere. And look, I'm just as guilty of this as everybody else I'm accusing, so let's be clear. Now, my face is not stuck in it all day, but this would have been a dream to a kid like me, you know, back umpteen million years ago. I have the power. I have encyclopedias and dictionaries full of information, and I have porn. And that was what really drove the internet back in the early 90s, was access to material you probably shouldn't have been looking at. And I'm starting to become an old guy and warm up to that idea that a lot of this shit we're being exposed to is harmful to us. Now, as grown adults, we're allowed to do whatever we can. But shouldn't it be our goal to keep kids away from this kind of crap? I mean, if they're not going to learn on the phone and not be looking stuff up on the internet, you know, like encyclopedia information, then what is the purpose of them having it? Don't say safety. Everybody has phones. There's a phone within 5 feet of most everybody at all times. I know I'm exaggerating a bit. So it's not a safety issue. And you can buy tracking devices and put it on your kids, put it in their purse or their wallet or what, tag it on their person. So tracking where your kid is not a problem. We have the technology to do it, but giving them these devices is like putting them on the van, with the windowless van yourself. It's just a matter of time before something bad happens with one of these devices. So, I don't know. What do you think? Put it out in the chat. But I saw that article and it kind of, I don't have any kids, right? So I'm not a parent, so I don't know what parents go through. I've seen what my nieces and nephews go through with their kids, and I've seen my brothers and sisters, what they went through with their kids. Unfortunately, most of their kids were grups before they got to the cell phone age. And, now I don't spend all day on my phone, but 10 years ago, I hated smartphones. I wanted a flip phone. I just wanted phone and text. I didn't want my email on my phone. I don't want people following me around. I didn't want work to follow me home, that kind of thing. But now I find it indispensable. I use it as a note-taking app, as a research tool, and I don't spend all day on it. And when it dingles, I don't feel compelled to pick it up every 5 seconds. And it's not the first thing I reach for in the morning. Not that I'm better than anybody else, but I just don't have that compulsion to know. And frankly, more and more as I get older, I'm less and less concerned about what is going on in the world around me because I really don't care. I'm powerless to do anything about it. So we're going to spend a little time, if the time allows today, playing with Linux if I decide whether I'm going to spend time on this server or not. And I may just do that another time because that's going to take up the majority of our time. I'd rather talk about Linux. And just so you know, I've been around Linux probably 30 years. Okay, I've been around ever since Linux has been around. I've been using it since I was a wee lad. Linux is not and never will be on the desktop. And part of that problem is because there is no set standard for a Linux desktop. Everybody has their opinions on what's better, what isn't, and what's, and the other prevailing problem with Linux now is you got a bunch of loons running the thing. You got, for example, the Wayland versus X war, right? It's just, they seem to get politics into everything. And it seems that most of the, it's like Rust versus whatever for the programming language. It's gotten so bad now, even Linus has kind of come up and gone, hey, we've kind of lost the meaning of this whole open source kind of, free software kind of thing. And you're kind of making it a soapbox. What I'm saying is it's being politicized because it turns out a lot of people that are in no offense to anybody, don't take offense to this if you're part of that Linux community. But a lot of these people in the community are crazy. They have a certain belief system and they want everybody else to believe their way. And if they don't, then they won't do business with you. They try to cut you out of their system. It's just not a healthy environment anymore. I mean, I knew Linux was the community was troubled because any time in the last 30 years you go out and try to get help with something, it was like, oh, you should know this. It's all that snobbery that I just can't stand. And it puts a lot of people off Linux. And most people are stupid when it comes to their operating system. They want it to work. Go figure. They don't care what they're running. They just want it to work, which is why OS X is so damn popular, because you get used to it and it just works. It's reliable, right? Windows, same way. It just works. It's reliable. Does it have its flaws? Of course it does. But it has a standardized interface, as does OS X. When you go from one install to another, it's going to work consistently. Go from my Linux installation with a GUI to Sakura's. Is it going to be the same? No. Why? Because there is no standard. Everybody's can make their own choices. And to a certain extent, you can with OS 10 and Windows as well. You can do a little customization. But for the most part, the out-of-the-box experience with OS 10 and Windows is consistent. Right? You know what you're going to get with OS 10. You know what you're going to get with Windows 11. What am I going to get with a standard install of Linux? Is there such a thing? No. And that's part of the problem. And there never will be, folks. It's just not going to happen. And to think that Windows 11 and all this AI they're cramming into it is going to destroy Microsoft and they're going to go out of business, I don't see that happening either. They'll pivot, they'll move, they'll listen, they'll change because, frankly, Windows runs the world, folks, on the desktops. Now, that doesn't mean that can't change, but that's just the way it is. So, when I talk negatively about Linux and give it a criticism, that is in the hopes it will improve itself and not blame the victim for it being so poorly put together and supported in some instances. So I'm always, and I also have a fear factor. I love Linux, but when it comes to it, I know that if I change one thing, I could crash the whole system, right? I used to have that fear with Windows for the long... Keep in mind, I've been around since Windows 3.0. Well, actually 2.1, okay? That's how old I am. So I've had lots of experience with Windows crashing, especially when it ran under DOS. Trust me, I've been there. But I've always had that fear with Linux, which is why I avoided it for a long time. So this isn't intended to be a negative rant about Linux, but while I'm here, why not? It does does things very well as far as an internet-based operating system, server system. It's excellent. People write open source software for it, are some of the coolest, greatest programmers in the world as far as I'm concerned. I use it in my lab. I use it with my clients. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, but we don't use it for the desktop. That's the only difference. During that time, as I'm learning Linux and the command line and how to do stuff, I kind of forgot how good Windows was. And that's another benefit of Linux, is once you use it a while, just use the File Explorer. Is there a standard File Explorer under Linux and a GUI? Okay. Everyone hates the Windows File Explorer under Windows, but I bet you they want to use it more than they want to use something in Linux. And why? Because they know it's consistently going to work, right? They know the interface is consistent. They can drag and drop files, right? So I forgot how comfortable I have become after these years in IT using Windows, and how much when I go to Linux and come back, I miss Windows. I miss the interface. Does it have its problems? Of course it does. But if you've ever run Windows Server, most of the people that say, well, it's too unstable, have never run Windows Server in their life. They're talking out their assholes. They don't know what they're talking about. Windows Server is very stable. Hell, Windows 11 is very stable. So is Windows 10. It's when you start jacking with it that you have trouble, you know. That's just the way it is. So that's why I'm doing this Windows Lab series again, revisiting it, and getting... my goal this next year is to quit distro hopping and quit putting different stuff on different servers. I have now tasked specific servers to run my Proxmox lab. I have tasked specific servers to run my Windows lab. And for some reason today, when I went to bring my Dell 730 up, that's the one with the dual Tesla P40 cards in it, I get Windows booting, I get the little circle, and then I get a black screen and nothing. And yeah, I've let it sit there 10, 15 minutes. I've unplugged and replugged it. I've reset iDRAC. I've done any number of things. And I'm to the point now where I need to boot off removable media and go into the repair mode and see what the hell is going on. I don't remember. The last time it booted up was December 29th. And it booted up without any problems. I've never, knock wood, had any trouble with this server. But it's bugging the hell out of me. As you can see, it's all I've talked about since the live stream. So again, we might try to spin that up, but what I wanted to show you today was how understanding and friendly Windows is to running Linux, especially on Hyper-V. And part of my Windows lab was I wanted to make sure I had a Windows 2022 server. That's the Dell 730. And a Windows 2025 server. That's the Lenovo SR650 V2. So that I could see the new features on Windows Server 2025 and see how I needed to change how I did my backup and restores of virtual machines across different versions of Hyper-V. The other thing I wanted to show was how native to Windows Hyper-V Linux is. It's all baked into Linux now. Usually the Hyper-V drivers are built right into, whether it's Ubuntu or Debian or whatever flavor Unix or Linux Unix you use. And also it's pretty friendly running a GUI with Linux. So I think that's what we're going to do next. So let me get some stuff organized here. Well, first of all, let me do this. We got, what, half an hour left? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Microsoft Edge, and we're going to, let me find my link here. Pardon me, folks. I got to move some stuff around. And let me copy. Where are ye? There ye. Open link in a new, I want to copy the link. Copy the link address. Then we're going to bring up Edge. As much as I hate to bring up Edge, we're going to bring it up. And then we're going to get our monitor positioned over here. Let's turn off the let's turn off these ads. Okay, there we go. So now we can transition over. All right, so here we go. So this is my Dell. I'll just show you what it does, and then we'll move on to other things. Actually, you know, while I'm booting up, I could, you know what? What the hell? I have a Windows Server 2022 image. I've already told you what it's doing. It's not booting up right. So let's see if we can boot off of a USB key. And for whatever reason now, I can't use the Dell IPMI in Chrome or Brave because, yeah, it gives a expired certificate error. So let's go to, oh, we have to do this under whatchamacallit. Hang on a second. Settings. Oh man, can you believe it? I've drawn a blank. I think I have to do it in the, is this how I have to do it? Yeah, connect virtual media. My bad, folks. It's been a while. It's been a few months. So I'm going to map a local, I keep a copy of this on my hard drive here, or my SSD. So where is, okay, that's not server. There it is, server 2022. Go ahead and map that device. Okay, should be able to close that. Now I have to come back here and power it on. Don't ask me why. All right, so we'll get ready on the F12 key. It's either F12 or F11. And we'll try to boot off that USB key and go into repair. I think we go into repair mode. We'll have to look. But yeah, that was my challenge. I woke up this morning and found out this machine won't boot. Now, meanwhile, while that's running, let me get this up. Move it over here. So here's the Lenovo. It's up and running and waiting for us. Come back to the Dell here. I think it has to do with video, but like I said, I don't remember upgrading any video drivers, anything like that. And Windows I'm just going to let it try and boot off the internal SSD. And Windows Server won't update anything on its own without you approving it. So it's not some auto update that came through or snuck through. The only thing I can figure is that we've had some cool weather and some warm weather, and it has. I don't keep the server on all the time, and perhaps I have loosened something up with all this heating and cooling, because that's something people don't take. These servers are designed to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're not designed to be turned off and turned back on, and it ages them, and things get, with thermal expansion, parts move, RAM can move in the slot a little bit, the CPUs can, God only knows. And so, or could be the SSD has finally kind of bitten the dust in here. So it's going to boot from the J drive, and you'll see it gets about here. I get the spinning circle like everything's okay, and then it will halt spinning like here. And then normally you'd be presented with a blue login screen, and we get nothing. And I can't ping it. I can't Control Alt delete it. Nothing. Not a thing. Now I'm going to leave that running for a few minutes just to make sure. Well, we come over here to the Lenovo. There we go. And on the Lenovo, what I want to do is, this is something I've needed to do. I need to go out to the network. I need to go out to my Synology NAS under backups and exports. Now you can't hear it, but the fans on the Dell R730 just calmed down, just like it had booted into Windows normally. They've gone into their normal mode. If it were a driver issue, I would think I could still ping the server, but I can't. Now, one thing I haven't tried to do is to copy or is to do a search and see if the IP address maybe has changed on it. That's another thing maybe I need to do. But anyway, what I want to do right now, I've got a template for Debian that I want to copy over here to this exports folder that was created over on that server. That's another reason I need that server up, is to create my Hyper-V images on an older version that can be imported into this newer version. Look, blazing speed. Wow, just 10 gig network. Spinning Rust, folks. That's not SSD on the Synology that file is stored on. That's spinning Rust. So incredibly good performance. And then I should just be able to come here to Hyper-V. A big complaint of mine with Hyper-V is this garish interface. It's all white screened. And now I'm going to browse to that export folder. I'm going to select it, and then I'm just going to import it. And hopefully it'll just import. Shouldn't take too terrible long. It's not that big of a file. So what it'll do is it'll copy it, import. Here it goes. That was quick. And then if I come over here to settings, you can see that this is just a standard Type 1 hypervisor that I've created under Windows, or a revision 1. It's got a BIOS boot. It doesn't have UEFI. Giving it 2 CPUs. There it is. So now I want to try and boot it up. Let's get rid of that white background. It's annoying as hell. 2.1. And I believe I set this. I don't know if I set this up with a GUI on it or not. Maybe not. But this is something I needed to do the other day and never did it, to import it from here. Okay. It looks like I haven't. So I don't know if this is Adama or if I used root. I think I used Adama because, you know, Debian does their sudo a little bit differently. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, see, so it sees all the devices Windows is passing through to it. And see if we can run top. Yeah. But it's, you know, it's seamless running it under Windows. You would not know any difference. I don't have a GUI set up on it right now. That's what I want to do. But if we come over here to let's see, summary, memory, networking. Yeah, so all the tools are enabled. That's why we're able to see the RAM, the memory demand, etc. And it just works. Just works. The other thing I can do is go, let me go get the other template and import it. I don't know if I did a GUI on that or not. My memory is not what it used to be. So backups, exports. We're going to copy this one. And you have to copy it to the local drive because you get a permissions issue if you just try to import off of the NAS, because Synology doesn't support that system account, I believe. So it's just a necessary evil when using one of those NASs. Now let me import that virtual machine. One of these had a GUI, I thought. Let me just choose the second one. Copy it. Let it run. Should take about the same amount of time to import it. And then we'll go ahead and connect to it. Let's start it. Watch it make a liar out of me. I don't know whether there's a GUI on this one or not. Seems to me I installed one with a GUI and one without. But I could be wrong. Nope, I'm wrong. Did not install a GUI. But, you know, hey. We can do it now. I'll show you how to do that. But in the meantime, let's go over and check out, let's go over and look at my Windows. Yeah, and there you go. Still nothing. Nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it, and then I'm going to bring this interface back up. I'm going to go ahead and power it off. All right, I can hear it's powered off now. Good. So while that's powered off, let's go over here to the Lenovo, and let's do a let's try something here. It's Debian 13. Do I have an ISO over here? Probably not. Let me find the Debian 13 ISO. Where are you, Debian? There it is. There's Debian Live. I want the Debian net install. And I think that's over on my... There it is right here. I'm looking right at it. So let me copy that. I think I'm keeping them on my C drive. Yeah. And it's already there. I'm an idiot. I should have looked first. Okay, so I want to try something here. I want to do a new virtual machine. And we'll do D13 GUI 1, okay? I'm going to do a Type 2 Gen 2 hypervisor. I'm going to give it lots of RAM. I'm going to give it a network card. I'm going to give it a very large hard drive because I have lots and lots of hard drive space. I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Go back to my settings. Okay, because why, Microsoft? Why do you do that? We'll give it a quad core. We'll make her a quad core. Then we need to add a DVD drive. And then browse to that image file. Apply that. I want to turn off checkpoints, remember, because I don't know what they do. Now, let me also change my boot order. And I think we're ready to go. So let's double click to connect to it. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Close you. Close you. And go ahead and start. And you can see it works beautifully. About as well as my Windows server on my Dell 730. Now, why is it doing that? Well, it's video related. You need to change a mode operation when you go to boot. This is why I very seldom, if ever, set up Debian with a Type 2 hypervisor, because I have problems with it. Now, they're not insurmountable, but I just want you to see the difference. If I tried to do that, now let's go out and create a new one. And we'll do a D13 GUI 2. We'll just do a simple Gen 1 this time. Same amount of RAM. Give it a network card. Give it a large hard drive. Install the OS later. Finish. And then go do my housekeeping on the machine. Turn the checkpoints off. Apply. Go ahead and browse to an image file. And yeah, for those of you interested, I am going to try. We'll go into the after party after this on Discord. Thank you, Jamie, for putting that back up, getting it back up and running. So just if you don't know where that is, go to UncieJoe'sPlayhouse.net or .com, and our social media links are there, and our link to our Discord page. You don't need to pay a fee or anything. It's free. And we go hang out after the live stream and chit chat and catch up on stuff. Give it 4 cores. Okay. So let's see if we have any better luck now with a Gen 1 hypervisor. Ooh, pardon me. I inhaled a bug. Well, that's a bit further than we were getting last time. So I'll take that as a win. So I'm going to go ahead and start the installer and install this with a desktop operating system. Let's see if I can bring it back here. And yeah, this is one thing it does do, though, that's a little weird. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and maximize it. So the GUI install should work now. And I'm just going to breeze through it. I'm going to give it a name, set up the user account. And what I like to do with Debian, well, with any Linux, is to set up multiple desktops. But with Debian, they make it especially easy. How are we doing on time? Oh, time for a sip of coffee. Yum. Yeah, we went to Unkie Joe's Playhouse and we watched paint dry. It was a lot of fun, I tell you. A lot of fun. Hopefully it'll find the network adapter and do its thing. Maybe not. maybe not. Or maybe it'll just, hang there. There it goes. So we'll call it D13 GUI2. And UJP.local, because it's on the 5 subnet. That's the other thing I don't do that will be changing. I have all these wonderful VLANs that I've created. And yeah, I keep everything on my production network. I take that back. I did set up a separate subnet for Internet of Things and for my cameras. And I have now got just about every piece of gear on my network is now UniFi. So for those of you that don't know, UniFi makes it very easy to just really manage your network without having to think about it, create VLANs. And so I've switched off my pfSense firewall onto UniFi security gateway. It does all kinds of neat whiz-bang stuff. It's affordable. I mean, even for the king of cheap here. Okay, now I want to let that run because what I want to do is I want to come over here to this machine again, and I want to make sure that virtual media, see, this is the other thing it does. It'll just drop the network connection. I want to connect virtual media. Choose the file. This time we're going to try and boot off of the USB drive. Virtual media is connected. You're my witness. Let's go ahead and power this on. Why I have to come out to a different window to power it on, our Dell. And what I'm going to try to do is boot off of that USB and then boot into safe mode on Windows Server. Otherwise, you have to press the F8 key really fast when booting, and that's really hard to do. So we'll see if we can't get it to boot off the remote DVD-ROM. Actually, is what we'll be booting off of. I'm just hoping I don't think it's something changed on the OS. Unless I'm praying it's actually an SSD failure that hopefully would be easy to figure out without having to tear this thing out of the rack and try to troubleshoot one little piece of hardware that's gone bad. I hate doing that. If that is the case, I think maybe I will just retire this unit, and I've got another Dell 730 coming to me, and then just keep it around for parts. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm not the first to hear about Dell 730 series failing about this time. I remember reading last year about quite a few of the 730 series, for whatever reason, just decided to go belly up and quit working. So again, it's all anecdotal. Don't have any proof of that. So I'm going to do a one-shot UEFI boot menu, and I'm going to come down to the virtual optical drive, and hopefully it'll boot. We might have to press the any key. It used to be with Windows, you just press the F8 key on any operating system, you go into safe mode. But now, because of the boot timings, you have to actually be very fast. Okay, it's booting. And it only does, this is the other thing that just irks me about the iDRAC controller. It's only a 10 meg interface, I believe. So it takes absolutely forever for it to boot off of, virtual or remote media. All right, let's go back to our... cool. So we're back here at our Linux install. I'm just going to accept the defaults. Continue. Yes. Continue. And then once it's done that, installs the base system, then it'll come back shortly and tell me, hey, you want what desktop do you want to use? So while we're waiting on that, see here, this is going to take forever. I don't know if it'll take the 10 minutes we have left, but I bet you it's going to take a while. So let's come back over to here and watch paint dry over here instead of paint dry over there. Now, all that being said about Linux that I said, you should still, if you're going to do a home lab, if you're going to have a career in IT, you better learn Linux. You're going to need it. And hell, just if you're curious, learn Linux. Take the time. But learn Windows as well, especially the Windows Server environment, because most of the time, I will only use Proxmox in an environment where I need to pass something through, some piece of hardware. Not including hard drives, because I can do that already under Hyper-V. And to a certain extent, you can pass through hardware under Hyper-V as well, but I haven't mastered it. So when I'm going to be, I don't know, sharing video cards under Proxmox, that's something I'll use Proxmox for. But usually I run Windows and Hyper-V. Now my lab here, my live system, my production system, I run Windows Server in with Synology NAS as my file sharing system, and it works really well for me. But that could be changing. I'm really quite fond of the what is that, TrueNAS? Yeah, I'm quite fond of TrueNAS and how it handles disks. So no, I'm not gonna scan another one. So, you know, I'm keeping an open mind, and I do have TrueNAS running as a VM on Big Bertha, and I use it as archival storage, offline storage. But the big problem I have with the Synology NAS is they only consume about 45 to 50 watts when they're running. Bertha consumes 330 when she's running, because she's got a lot of hard drives in her, and she's got big old honking CPUs that want a lot of power, and she's got a lot. Well, she doesn't have a lot of RAM. She's only got 64 gig of RAM. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and install Debian Desktop, including Cinnamon, XFCE. I'm going to do Mate, and I'm going to do SSH. Yeah, I'm going to do all of those. I'm going to continue. And then this, actually, I think this part takes the longest amount of time. So let's go back and see if we've had any success in booting Windows yet. No, still taking its sweet time. So we're probably not going to get that in before the end of the live stream, but you get what's going on. Okay, cool. Well, bring it back to me, please. Thank you. Well, so we'll let that run. Okay, I need to get rid of that. Pardon me, I'm moving some windows around here. There we go. Now it's back to me. Don't I look lovely? So let's go out to the chat and see what y'all are doing. Let's see. James Scout writes it's 36 freedom units there. Yeah, Grish goes, heck yeah, live troubleshootings. I can't do anything the easy way at Unky Joe's Playhouse. That's true. What did they used to say? You want to make it break? Give it to Unky Joe. Well, give it to Joe. Nerd on Elm Street writes, parents need to be more involved in their kids, but also kids on social media. Yeah, can easily influenced and groomed. Yep. It's bad enough we got our schools doing that to them, right? They don't need the internet doing it to them on top of it. Hey, coffee. And there's some good parents out there. I know, I met quite a few of them. The pendulum is Swinging back the other way, as I'm fond of saying. There are some good parents out there. That's a good idea. Smartwatches, not smartphones. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that's way too early of an age. Throw a book in their face. Why don't you sit down with them and teach them to read before they get into school? Because you can do it. I've had relatives of my own have their 2-year-old read. It can be done. That's a much better idea than teaching how to point to colorful stuff on an iPad. You're really not, the big thing about the internet was how it was going to help education. Horse shit. It ain't helped it. All right, it's helped a little, right? But it ain't the brain dump. They're doing the same thing with AI. Well, just think of the time it will save. Just think of how it will help you to have an encyclopedia of facts. Well, we've had encyclopedias online for years. They ain't helped most of us. In fact, we've gotten dumber as time has gone on. So, let's see. I've been trying to learn Linux for like 10 years. Every time I run into an issue, I get some nerd telling me I should know this. Yeah, exactly. Getting help and ditching Linux. Well, careful what you wish for. We will. Captain Radar, welcome. Mac OS is insane from installed to install. Apple feels like they need to change every setting that you set so it's worse as Windows as times. I don't know. I so seldom use my Mac, but I'll take your word for it. I got that Y2K bug, probably Y2K25 bug. Yeah. Grish writes, yeah, Debian, if you don't set the root password during install, then the user's the next step will have pseudo privileges. John's Touchpad, hello to you too, sir. Good to see you here. 619 writes, my mom was a kindergarten teacher and kids would leave her class reading it. Thank you. See, it is possible. My sister was an educator. She taught deaf kids, and so yeah, it can be done. How are we doing on time? All right, well, let's go look at, see if anything has come up. And there you go. I should have gotten up and put a USB key in the server and booted off of that, but it is what it is. But we'll continue this over in the after party. I'll keep working on it because I might actually need your help. And so for those of you that want to join us over in the after party and maybe contribute to helping Unky Joe figure out what he broke or what the hell is going on, you're welcome to join us. And we always have a lot of fun over there. And it's good to see that coming back, us doing that again. That's a lot of fun. And so here's hoping that all of you had a very Merry Christmas and a good one. And you focused on what was important, life, liberty, loved ones. Time is short, life is short. And a good New Year's, because always live with optimism in your life. Otherwise, you'll be one of those people nobody wants to be around, unless that's what you're after, But I find fellowship and friends especially comforting these days. So I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning back in to see this old guy perform like a trained seal. Although I think you might have gotten a better show with the seal, but we'll just leave it at that. Click the like button, smash it on your way out the door. Leave your comments down there. Donate. If you can help the channel in any way, donate. It's appreciated. There are links on my social media pages, the UnkyJoe'sPlayhouse.net and .com, same thing. Sign up for that website. We don't share your address with anybody. It's just a great way for us to keep in contact with you and let you know when new videos are coming out or when they've come out. So, and yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. Except I'll see y'all on the other side. Have a good rest of your day. Now, do I know what the hell I'm doing?
I've been watching old Unky Joe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server, solar power in the land. hoping that his plans all stand, making life a touch more bright underneath those